Hello and welcome back to Outside Views. And bro, we need to talk. And because that phrase gave me some comments, I want to tell you, everybody by now should know that I'm German. And this bro is a very German thing, just like Digger and Alder, and especially in the district where I live, that's a widespread thing. But it's both sexes. You say bro to boys and girls. So everyone is meant by that. And it's just another part of me being German, watching all of this with an outside view. And today I want to talk about a recent event that for me was a perfect example of what is wrong with modern politics. It was a visit filled with royal pomp and circumstance, with all the symbols of tradition and shared history. And of course everybody knows I'm talking about President Trump's recent state visit to the United Kingdom. From the outside, it looked like a great success, a historic reaffirmation of the special relationship between two old allies. But in my view, it was nothing more than a carefully orchestrated facade. Or is it facade? Please let me know. Behind the scenes of the royal handshakes and the press conferences at Chequers, a far more cynical and transactional reality was at play here. And this visit was not about shared values or about democracy or about mutual respect. It was about one thing and one thing only: money. And the reports from the visit are very clear on this one. The total volume of bilateral investments is estimated at around 300 billion euros. And that's an almost incomprehensible number. Of that, American companies are set to pour a staggering 173 billion euros into the UK. And this includes new AI centers from tech giants like Microsoft and Google, showing where the future of this relationship lies. And the American investment fund Blackstone is planning to invest an incredible 115 billion euros on its own. This isn't a relationship of equals, it's a business deal. It's a sign that a country that has recently chosen to separate itself from its closest partners is now in a position where it has to cut deals to survive. And the leaders of both nations, Trump and Prime Minister Starmer, spoke of defending freedom and of the special relationship. But seriously, what did that special relationship look like in practice? It looked like a press conference where they dodged difficult questions. When asked about the convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein and the disgraced former US ambassador to the UK and the UK ambassador to the US, Trump simply deferred the question to Starmer. And Starmer, in a moment of what I see as a profound cowardice, simply said that everything had already been said on that matter. And this, for me, was a defining moment of the visit. The new Labour leader, a politician who has campaigned on a platform of transparency and honesty, stood by as a major issue was swept under the rug for the sake of a photo op and a business deal. It showed me that for the political elite, values and principles are just words, to be used when it's convenient and to be abandoned when they get in the way of profit. But while the leaders were in their gilded cages, the real story was happening on the streets of London. While Trump was being shown around Windsor Palace, thousands of people were gathering for a Stop Trump march. And the people who were there were truly kind of representative sample of what a healthy, free society might look like. Of course, not if only they exist, but still, you mean. I do criticize a lot of the things that are brought up by activists. If they want to force other people to obey their stuff, we talked a lot about this. I'm not on their side, but I'm on their side when it goes about equal rights and everything. And they all belong into society. They have their place, but they shouldn't be forcing others to stick to their views. But there were climate activists, women's rights groups, LGBTQ activists and socialists, although I still only count myself to the LGBT and want a divorce from the rest because of what I said earlier. But there are also socialist groups. And most prominently, there were pro-Palestine activists, their voices loud and clear. And that was the one where I think I'm a bit out of there. You saw my video yesterday. But this really shows where Labour is standing and where their Prime Minister is standing. But what was particularly striking to me was the presence of anti-Brexit activists. They were dressed in blue and yellow and carrying European flags. And to me, they were a powerful symbol of the other side of the story. The people who are not willing to sacrifice values for the sake of a bad deal because there was made a very bad decision a long time ago. What I don't accept, to be honest, at the same time, and I wouldn't accept that against Jeremy Corbyn either, who's very much on the left and very far from me, they were chanting F-U-C-K Donald Trump and you're not welcome here. Of course, they can express what they think, but as soon as it starts with insults, there's where the whole thing starts, that ends up with attacking people physically as well, or even to the worst, as we've recently seen. This, for me, is unacceptable to all sides. I wouldn't talk like this about someone from the AfD or Heidi Reicheneck, the leader of our left party, or Van Aken, which are a case for to be observed now as well, because both sides are extremely extremist, one on the right side, one on the left side, but are still treat people with respect. It's the same with the Antifa here that has a number of criminal members that were insulting and threatening people like me as well, just normal local politicians from a Democratic Party. I do not accept stuff like that, and I would not do stuff like that. Yes, even in my rage video yesterday, I didn't use swear words against anyone. And that's the problem on some sides here. What was quite concerning or discerning, is the right word, was that a speaker from a small stage called for the crowd to chant from the river to the sea, and they followed. And you all know what they mean. They are still believe to destroy Israel. And there we are back at yesterday's video. But overall, the message was clear. There are still people who believe in a special relationship based on democracy, human rights, and solidarity, but not on cynical business deals. But those cynical business deals are now necessary because of a decision made almost 10 years ago now. But the story of this protest is also in its own way a tragic one. The organizers had hoped for a much bigger turnout, and they were disappointed. And some large loudspeakers had to be taken down from the street because the crowd simply didn't fill the space. And that's an interesting information here as well. The people may be apathic, as some reports say, or they did not feel the same as the people there. Some people might be angry but feel their voices don't matter. But if I would be there, I have demonstrated against extreme right-wingers here in my country as well. But when these demonstrations turn into something very different, like the stuff I said when they chanted from the river to the sea and stuff like that, I'm out of there. I don't want to be part of that. And that's also a thing. When demonstrations against an authoritarian leader, and that is what Trump is now, especially after the Kimmel thing. If this goes into extreme as well, I do not want to be part of it. And that could be the reason why there weren't so many people as they hoped there would be. And those pro-Palestine activists, led by figures like former Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn, by the way, used the protest to call for massive new demonstrations for their purposes. And so there are reasons to, you see that it's a very, very, very sensitive topic where you have to really choose your words very well. There are democratic values being sacrificed in the US, and obviously in the dealing with the US, also in the UK. But using that to assist some terrorist group in their ruthless attacks against the country is not what yeah, you see, I'm losing my English on that one even, because I cannot understand that. I cannot understand those people like Corbyn here on the Palestinian matter, and you cannot go from one extreme to the other. It is very just to criticize Donald Trump for many things he's done in office, and a lot of these things should be checked by the courts if that was really okay what he did. But you cannot counter this with just going into the other extreme. Nevertheless, Starmer probably is getting in trouble with his base a lot, because he didn't care about any values or whatever. He was just looking for the prizes he could get from Trump. That's why he tried to stay away from certain topics. That's why they gave him kind of a historical visit. I mean, other presidents have stayed at Windsor Castle before, we know that. But being there second time in a row, that was I mean, they have, in German we say Bauchpinseln. That's what they did for Trump. They just gave him the biggest show they could get to feel him so important and so welcome and everything. Be fine. But they didn't really talk about the matters that really matter at the moment. So it was just a show to get a deal. And we all should be honest about that. Nevertheless, I know that one, especially the demonstrations, were quite contentious once again. So let me know what you think about Trump's visit and the demonstrations against him. Please, as usual, stay civil in the comments. I want to have a civil discussion there. I know both sides will be there. And as long as it stays civil, I will not delete any comments. But as soon as you get outside of the normal civilization range, I will. So, and if you want to see another video right now, the next one is right here in the end screen. I'll see you there. I'll be back.